Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Spiral Offcast, Episode 4. I'm Danny,
And I'm Chris.
and today we are joined with a very special guest, Eric.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome to the Spiral Offcast.
This is Eric from Core 4 Gaming on YouTube. I'm sure you've been there, you've seen it.
And if you haven't, go check it out. We have several videos on here now. We all play games together.
That's right. Go ahead and just click the channel that you're watching this on.
Yes. So,
Zing.
today, now that introduction's out, today we are back at it again with the anime discussions, ones that everyone loves.
The one that we have been plotted to pertain in since the very first episode of the Spiral Offcast.
Yes, so we spun the Wheel of Fate, and the Wheel of Fate has chosen for us everyone's favorite anime, the very family-friendly, PG-rated Goblin Slayer. Fun for the whole family.
Yes, a full early disclosure. The topics that will be talked about referencing this anime are definitely not safe for work. So
No.
if you're watching this at work,
Don't.
yeah, just don't do it.
Just don't.
Have the earbuds in.
You know how awkward it'll be and your boss comes over, what are you listening to? And then
Yeah, and needless to say, this is also going to be spoiler heavy.
I mean,
especially for the first episode.
If you have been like, I gotta watch this show, and you're sensitive, maybe
Give it a pass.
maybe dodge it. But if you're like, you know, I've thought about it, but I don't know if I want to invest. It's like maybe you listen to us about this. If you're like, man, I just want to have a good time, I'm gonna tell you probably not the anime for you.
Exactly. So,
But yeah, so full disclosure, a lot of intense
stuff.
adult themes, things that are not
not great.
good. So
We're gonna discuss it, and we're gonna discuss how we endured with it.
Yes, so we didn't write it, so don't get mad at us.
Don't get mad at us.
Yeah.
We're just talking. Don't shoot the messenger.
No, hard R and spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler for the first.
Spoiler filled.
So we are going to talk about the first, I think, four episodes.
Yeah.
So Chris, you watched the first episode.
Yeah, so
Eric, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say officially we're moving past the disclosure. So if you're
Yes,
here at
we're
this
moving
point,
past it.
That's your own choice.
Okay. So Chris watched the first episode. Eric found out about us watching it and decided to hop in. You watched up to episode 4?
Yeah.
Okay. So I technically watched up to episode 5. But honestly, 4 was pretty fine, and it was like, all right, like, we'll call it there then.
So please, Danny, first impressions.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's go. We'll
Should we just talk about the elephant in the room?
Well, no. We're gonna get to the elephant in the room, but let's go ahead.
We gotta construct the
Let's-
elephant first before we.
Yeah. So
talk
let's
about
go ahead.
God.
Let's set. Okay. Here's what we'll do. We're gonna give our first impressions. But let's set up for those of you who don't know what Goblin Slayer is. Goblin Slayer is an anime, a relatively new one, last
Yeah.
couple of years or so.
Yeah.
Right now.
Fresh.
Right now, it's got 1 season and a movie, right? All you can find online and whatnot, but it's a relatively newish anime. It follows the adventures of the titular named Goblin Slayer, and as well as a few other characters as they roam about a medieval world, fantasy-themed world. Taking out.
No, we'll talk about that.
yes.
I've got some issues.
Yes.
I've got an axe to grind about as far as the setting goes.
Yes.
But that's basically the gist of what the. I mean, if you had to sum up the idea of this anime, that's basically it. So.
So, before we go into detail, let's go ahead and just say just first initial thoughts without going into detail just yet. So, I'll go ahead and say it. I didn't like it.
My favorite.
No, not my favorite. So I watched out of the 5 episodes that I watched. I think the first season is about 13 episodes or so. So I got through 5 of it. And I hated the first episode. And we're going to get into why no one liked the first episode. But I felt that afterwards, the following episodes, at least from what I watched, were very slow, very uneventful. Nothing really was going on, especially after what happened in the first episode. and I didn't really feel a reason to keep watching it. Now, let's see if anyone feel differently.
Anyone in the room?
Anyone
Okay,
object?
so I think, without jumping into it in great detail, I will say that I actually thought that the first episode was the best of what I watched. And I say that because not necessarily of what happened, but the fact that shit did happen. And, like, to me, okay, what I loved and what caught my attention right off the bat at the very start was of the very distinct Dungeons and Dragons vibe to it.
Yes.
Like, they were assembling their party. I'm the tank, I'm the healer, I'm the damage dealer. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. Don't see a whole lot of this, even in things like Sword Art Online, which, you know, I think we all love that. But that really immediately pulled me in, and I really liked how they were setting up the group for obvious catastrophe. Like, they were literally saying all the famous last words.
Yeah.
And it was very clearly deliberate. I liked it. I liked what they were setting up. It's after the first episode where it really let me down.
It flatlines.
Yeah.
No, and I agree with you. I don't like saying the first episode is the best episode, but I completely agree with you in that it is the episode where things happen and literally afterwards it does flatline. Like, I completely agree with you. And I completely agree it does have a great, almost D&D like setting. Absolutely, the elements that it plays with, it's like, yeah, no, this would be a great D&D anime. Like,
it's like being at a singles bar and there's that one really ugly person that's waiting for you to get drunk, so you get those drunk goggles and think that you know you're seeing somebody a lot prettier than they actually are, and then when you wake up the next morning you're like, what the hell did I do? That's what this anime is.
we'll put that on the back of the box.
Quote, what the hell did I do?
Exactly. All right, Chris. So what first impressions?
My first impression.
So you've only watched the first episode, but you got to give your first impression.
Legit, the start of the entire show, I was in a state of concern. Like, and the thing is because I like was like, there's a stigma here, I feel like, but it was too good. It was too good because it started out establishing the art style was really fucking nice.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was actually really well done. Super well done. I'm like, damn, they dropped some money on this. They were betting here. And then I liked the inclusion of like the guild hall and how, like, you know, there's members and, you know, there's multiple guilds, and this one she's just joining. She's like, you know, a brand new adventurer, so it's like, oh, okay, this is like a jumping off point to, like, you know, all kinds of shit that can happen. And then the other group that was there, they're like, hey, all friendly, just innocent friendly, like, hey, you're a healer, you know, we kind of need one of those, we're gonna go out and do a quick, easy job, you know, just have an adventure. You know, this is going to be fun. And, you know, if you want to join us, you're new. You know, we're still kind of new. So it was like this cool little bonding moment of, like, setting up these characters that were going to be, like, I don't know, this was like the characters we're going to follow for the whole story, and it was going to be rad. And then they started dropping those hints about fucking goblins being something that are, like, so fucking easy, like, you know,
it's like what Eric said. They set it up.
yeah, and it's like, oh, that's when I started to feel weird, because I'm like, oh god, it's not gonna go the way that they're thinking it's gonna go.
You see, and that's another thing that I really liked. I liked that they set up the goblins to be the expectation everybody has about goblins in a fantasy setting. In other words, cannon fodder.
Yeah.
The goblins are the ones you just curb stomp and forget about while you move towards the real baddie. And then, of course, as things develop, you find out the goblins are actually a lot more spooky than you think they are.
Right.
And I really like that. I feel like goblins have really been watered down, and they have become in popular fiction non-threatening.
Even in like D&D, even
in D&D,
goblins,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's like, okay, test dummies.
yeah, and it's like you're talking about a creature that in earliest folklore, I mean, these things abducted babies from their families. I mean,
Yeah.
really horrific stuff. And you could tell that this anime was kind of trying to get back in touch with that, and I really, really appreciate that. But
No, and you know what? I can agree with that. I agree that on paper that's a neat idea, and I would totally be fine with it. It's like, no, I think that's kind of cool. Like using like something that's been commonly looked at as like, yeah, whatever, but going back to kind of its roots. I think that's a cool idea. Absolutely. Execution, it's just like you go a little farther there. So.
Yeah, this episode fucking broke me.
So,
should we just talk? Should we just?
So yeah, let's continue.
Just rip off the Band-Aid.
Okay,
Yeah,
so these guys go to the fucking cave to go kill these goblins.
Okay,
Yes.
I do want to say this. Did anyone catch anyone's names?
They didn't have names.
Okay, but like the main girl
She's
and
called the priestess.
the priestess, because like I'm gonna spoil this right now. I didn't catch anyone's fucking name besides Goblin Slayer.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing. I think their names are basically what they do.
Yeah.
Like he's the Goblin Slayer.
Yeah.
she's
the
priestess. Yeah.
You know.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't alone.
I think
but...
that's like the gist.
Okay. All right, Chris, continue.
But yeah, so they go to the fucking cave to go just like stomp out these goblins. And like the first warning sign is they have like the shaman,
The weird little
bullshit.
sign thingy.
Yeah, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" They're like, it's probably just some bullshit. They don't know what they're doing,
It's some bullshit.
right? And then they fucking walk into the cave, and it's just like the tension is increasing as I'm watching it, and I'm just like not okay. Then they find another fucking totem, and they're just like, "These are everywhere. This is weird."
This is weird,
strange.
but it's fine.
They're like, "Oh, there's no goblins. This is."
Now that I think about it, it's very reminiscent of the Blair Witch Project with the little
dolls,
stick figurines
yeah.
that kept appearing, and they kept getting bigger and more of them.
Right.
And the thing is, they actually touch on that near the end of the episode. Is actually like those served a purpose.
Yeah, and again, nice touch. Really, really like that. Should I be just the one to say this?
Oh, we're building into it.
We're building into it. We're building into it. We're
Trust
building into
me.
it.
We're laying the groundwork. So
This is entirely too much foreplay.
basically like they're all in there. There's a spellcaster. There's the priestess they brought as the healer.
There's the fighter
the fighter.
girl, and
Yeah.
what was the guy? What was he, like
He
a
just had
swordsman?
He was a
Yeah,
swordsman.
so they're all going through and ignoring the very signs that, oh shit, there's something up here.
Right, and they're like, we haven't seen any goblins yet, and they're just like, it's just deeper in. And then the fucking guy starts like swinging his sword around to kind of like show off that he's good, and it just like fucking bounces off the roof because it's too fucking long.
Yes.
And
then it's Chris.
and then as they're going through, the priestess actually is the only one that fucking hears something, and she's like, "That's weird. I heard a sound." And the fucking spellcaster is like, "What do you mean? What did you hear?" And she's like, "It sounded like it was from behind us." And then the fucking spellcaster is basically like, "No, there's no way it's possible. We came in that way. There's no way they'd be behind us." And they just keep walking, and that's like at the point where everything fucking hits the fan.
Yeah, because then they look and they're like, oh shit.
And, yeah. So Danny, what happens next?
So then, yeah, let's see. I wanted Chris to talk about it because like I could tell how much it bothered him.
You want me to keep talking?
No, I'll do it. It's fine. I just thought it was funny. I kept looking at you. I'm like, no, say it, say it. But
That was fucking bullshit. That's
no.
what I was so mad.
Basically, they get ambushed by the goblins from behind, and my god, is it fucking like
Yeah, it's like fish in a barrel.
And so, and the thing was that, I knew that a very particular thing was going to happen, but what I didn't know was that these, like, the main party besides the priestess all just get fucking like the spellcaster and the swordsman get fucking brutally murdered. Like I felt like it was so, not that it was so out of nowhere, like, yeah, obviously they were kind of building up, like, oh shit, something's gonna happen, but, like, my god, like, the swordsman was, like, kind of, like, doing a good job, like, holding him off, and then he drops his fucking sword, and they just all fucking, like, pile on him, and fucking, like, stab him shit, and, like...
That was, like, the most uncomfortable part of this entire episode, was the just sheer...
The brutality of it.
The, like, unprecedented brutality.
And the thing was, too, again, like what Chris was saying, is, like, the animation is so good, and in this moment, it's too good. It's so, like...
We'll probably get into this more later, but that's it. To me, like, that was a big red flag, was how good the animation was compared to the writing.
The animation and the voice acting.
Yeah. Like, you can tell that's where all the money went.
It absolutely did.
There was good ideas for the story, but there clearly wasn't any money given to the writers to really develop it.
And so it basically proceeds so you have the sorcerer girl and the swordsman both get brutally fucking, like, murdered. Well, the spellcaster gets poisoned and paralyzed technically.
That shit, I like saw it coming, but I didn't realize that this show was gonna take that turn. And I'm like, oh, okay, the goblins are gonna just, like, you know, kind of fucking rough them up, because she, like, fucking nukes 2 of them down.
She does,
and then she gets fucking straight up stabbed in the stomach, and I'm like, oh god, she's dead now. And I'm just like, I kind of liked the potential of these characters and their naivety.
I know.
It would have been something cool to build on.
Exactly.
But
and
they straight up, they just fucking kill her.
No, and
She's,
I mean,
like, bleeding out.
I want to build on that, but I want to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off, because then we get to the third one, the fighter girl, and they fucking, like, she fights them and everything, and then they just, again, go so fucking brutal with, like, there's, like, a giant one that, like, grabs her leg and, like, puts her, and then, like, throws her on a fucking wall, and it's just, again, the animation's, like, it's too fucking good. Like, and the voice acting, it's just, it made me so fucking uncomfortable. And then they proceed to fucking go into the goblins raping this girl, and I'm gonna be real, I'm a very patient, and I'm not, like, I don't really have an issue with, like, blood, gore, you know, all this stuff. I draw the line at rape. So when we get to this and they're, like, literally ripping her clothes, I immediately was like, nope. Like, oh my god. And they just, again, like, it was so not out of nowhere again, but it was just, like, the brutality of the whole scene was just so, like, it went 0 to 100 miles an hour real quick, and then...
Because it implies, like, a sort of fantasy, like... the way it starts, you kind of get the Sword Art Online adventure vibe.
Yeah.
And then it takes such a turn that you don't see it coming.
And the thing, too...
And then it's like, you were kind of wanting a good time, and then it's like, this is... I didn't really want this.
I didn't want this. And the thing too was that, and I wanted to build off of your thought, Chris, that all these characters are, like, pretty, like, you think you're gonna get, like, a good time and everything. And the thing that, the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's like, I feel like it felt worse because it never felt like these characters warranted anything like this. Like, the worst crime they committed, as to the audience, was that they were just playfully naive to the fact that there was some fucking audience at the goblins.
It was very mean-spirited.
It was like, there weren't, like, annoying characters. It wasn't like...
None of it was justified.
Like, when you watch, like, a movie and there's, like, the asshole villain, they get, like, this very, like, crazy ass death. We get behind it because it's like, it was completely justified.
And you don't even have to have them be villainous. They could just be a douchey jock type.
Exactly.
And you'd be like, it's, okay, I'm going to probably, this is where I'm going to differ with you guys.
Yeah.
Let me first say, I'm fully preface this by saying I am not saying rape is okay. I am not saying I'm cool with it. I'm not saying I enjoy watching it. I will say that when it comes to art, nothing should be off the table. Everything should be up for grabs, thematically.
Right.
I honestly think... I really feel like the worst thing about Goblin Slayer is that it was basically betting everything on this first episode and betting everything on that one thing. I mean, let's be honest. The whole reason we started talking about it was because of the rumors that we've heard about this. And that, to me, it shows that it's not necessarily like something vulgar or nasty about the creators. It's just, to me, it's more like an issue of this thing clearly lacks any other kind of substance other than this one scene.
Almost like a clickbait kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's like they pull you in because
well, let me finish.
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
Go ahead.
Because the rape scene in and of itself is really not that. It's not that extreme. Like, I've seen a lot of art house films. Okay,
Yeah.
like I binge watched so many different types of art house films, so many pretentious movies. One of which maybe you guys have heard of was called Irreversible.
It sounds familiar.
It's a French film, and it has a very infamous rape scene in it, and it's very brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably like one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever watched.
Well,
I would say that in this anime, even if you haven't watched anything like that, it's still not that extreme. If you've watched Berserk, I would say Berserk was just as dark and violent, the first episode, as this. I would say if you've watched Black Mirror, the first episode is way darker than this. Yeah. And this is with real actors. If you've watched Game of Thrones, way darker than this. So, to me, it's just like, it's really misplaced hype. It's clickbait hype, and it's clickbait hype surrounding something that really, honestly, is not as extreme as everybody makes it out to be. Maybe I'm just desensitized because I've watched so much crap.
Right.
But, and I totally admit to that. So if people are like, "Oh my God, this is way worse. What the hell was he talking about?" Just take it with a grain of salt. I'm jaded as hell when it comes to movies and TV shows. I honestly kind of applauded them for having the guts to do it.
Yeah.
I applaud them for having the guts to do something that dark in something that would otherwise be just, a storybook fairy tale.
Right.
My problem was really after that, even in the first episode, there is a very noticeable drop off where they built so much up to this climactic scene. They clearly didn't know where to go after that.
No, yeah.
they had no idea. I mean, we're then introduced to the Goblin Slayer. He comes in, he wipes the floor with them, and he rescues the only survivor.
The priestess.
Yeah. And I mean, that about sums up episode 1.
Well,
really.
because like after that, like, yeah, he comes in and he just wipes the floor with them, and then he rescues her. He rescues the other like girls that had been captured by the goblins.
Yeah, but they have to kill them because their wounds are already so grievous that it's like. The poison girls, they kill her.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, there was the girls like on the wagon like after that.
Oh,
that's what I mean.
Because
the sorcerer girl, and yeah, he ends up saying like, no, she needs to die because it's just too far.
Yeah.
No, and I agree with you. Like it really is after that because even when Goblin Slayer does come on and does wipe the floor, it's not like I don't know. I don't remember it being as intense.
Like everything that had been up to this point, like at least for me, yeah, the rape was like really fucked up. But like I think it was the brutally beating of everybody else that was like more intense to watch. Like it's all fucked up, but like that, like they kind of left you on the scene to see it play out for a second, whereas the whole rape scenario they kind of implied and then cut away from. Yeah, so it's like, it's all fucked. But then, at least what I was thinking, when the dude walks into the cave and you see him in the armor, and I was thinking, like, maybe this'll make it better. If he just literally comes in and just beats the shit out of everything, maybe this is like the turning point. Like, it's all fucked up. Maybe it gets better. but none of what he kind of did gave that feeling of like
Satisfaction.
Yeah.
it didn't feel satisfying. It didn't feel like, okay, sort of the priestess's life will get better from here on out. It was more just like a situation.
Yeah.
And that was kind of disappointing because he is really good at what he does. He thought it out. He had like the fucking potion to help the priestess in her pain.
Yeah.
He understood that the spellcaster was poisoned, and he's like, there's no hope. He's practiced. The dude is intelligent, but like it just didn't feel like the way I wanted it to feel when he showed up. Like, I don't know.
Here's the tricky thing when you toss around fantasy settings with realistic consequences, you really have to do a juggling act in balancing those two themes, because if you go too far in one direction, you basically invalidate the other. So when you have something like you say, the Goblin Slayer comes in, it's not satisfying. Him slaughtering all the goblins doesn't really feel like a hell yeah moment. That's realistic, in that situation. That's what it would be like. But you don't necessarily want that when you're in a fantasy setting. Like you want the gritty realism, sure, but you want the hell yeah payoff at the end.
And that's what I think they wanted. That's like, I feel like that's what it was trying to be.
Yeah, and even with a first episode that's preluding to so much more, you still need that, especially after you just put the audience through something that visceral. You want them to have some sort of levity at the end of it where they could be like, yeah, fuck you guys.
Exactly.
And be like, they can kind of bounce back from it. This doesn't do that. And while you can make the argument it's more realistic and believable, again, that's the balancing act. You don't necessarily want all one tone unless you want just a single toned storyline, which this one clearly didn't. It wanted to blend high fantasy with gritty realism, and it doesn't do a good job of it, frankly.
Because it's like, it's realistic, but just because it's realistic doesn't mean it's entertaining.
Yeah,
no, and that's the thing is, like, it went so far with the gritty, realistic tone, and it's like, to what cost? Like, it didn't make me enjoy the show. It's not like, oh yeah, that was such a hype episode, I want to go back and watch more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it kind of falling back on, like, the Berserk analogy. Like, you don't know who Guts is when you first watch Berserk. You have no reason to root for this guy. But when you have that dark, gritty twist towards the end of the first episode, and he starts kicking ass, you're like, fuck yeah, he's doing it. And it's because they've built him up in such a way that when that payoff does come, it is a payoff. And it feels satisfying. You're like, all right, this is a dark, horrible world, but we've got Guts here, and he's going to kick some serious ass. You didn't get that with the Goblin Slayer.
No.
And they were clearly trying to replicate that.
Right.
But he literally walks on stage, like, in a theater, and just starts swinging his sword, and he's like, come with me if you want to live, and then that's it.
It is. It ends with him getting the job done. It ends with the priestess wanting to be like, hey, I want to go with you. I want to get stronger. I want to learn and be better. And he's just kind of like, okay. That's
the thing, is like, after everything, they go back to town, and then like, the over narration basically implies that this scenario happens a fucking lot in this world. Like they say a lot of, literally quoting it, they said a lot of girls join temples and shit afterwards because they just can't fucking deal with life anymore, and it's so frequent. It's like, is that what this is gonna kind of go on with?
This fun fantasy world, like,
yeah.
and then at the end, yeah, the priestess comes back into the guild hall and she's like, oh, I bought armor, and he's basically like, cool, I'm gonna go kill more goblins, you want to come? And she's like, yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is this ending?
Yeah,
like it wasn't, there was no sort of like wrap up feeling or even like anything to kind of jump.
And it
off
wasn't like
from.
the two had like a lot of like chemistry. It was just kind of like, yeah, you saved my life. Guess I'm gonna go with you now. Like, okay, I'm totally fine with her wanting to get stronger, but it was just like, yeah, it was just so like
There was nothing she absorbed from the event that just happened.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
No, and then what follows is just episodes where very little happens, and I agree with Eric. That is probably one of the biggest sins that the show commits, is that it put everything into the first episode, almost like a clickbait kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then what follows is very little. I have notes on here of what I watch, and it just
Like the second episode, I think we might as well start into that.
Yeah.
The second episode is basically just a flashback episode that kind of follows Goblin Slayer as a boy.
and it doesn't even like.
It doesn't, and you would think that would develop him as a character, but
It doesn't. No.
it absolutely doesn't.
And it's not even like it goes like into full detail for like the entire like episode. It just kind of like flashes back to it, and I don't know if that's just something that they wanted to start in an episode and then build upon later.
Yeah.
But it's kind of implied that it's like, okay, so he hates goblins because like his sister was killed or something, and his village was like raided and burnt down and everything.
Very
And
cookie cutter backstory.
very just edgy, fucking just like, oh, here we go. Like, it's the tragic hero cookie cutter fucking, it's like, great. What a fucking character.
Yeah, it's like the shit that Zane would write all the time.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up. But no, it is. It's just, it's such like, there's nothing fucking with it and it's like, and then his actual character in any of these fucking episodes is just, me kill goblin. Like that's his whole character.
Yeah, he's incredibly monotone. He's a one note character, and it's not even like an interesting. You can write a good one note character.
No, and
the Punisher is a one note character, and he is incredible. This guy could be a Punisher, and he's not. Like, they could have easily have written it that, he successfully defended his village from a goblin warband, and he just developed a taste for killing goblins, and he liked it enough to just make a life out of it. And that would have been way more interesting than, my whole village was burned down and my family was killed, so I'm really angry.
It's just, that's what it is, and it goes into that, and it's funny because he has, like, a girlfriend or, like, a wife or something like that, and, like, he comes home to her, and he's just still in the suit. Like, they're eating dinner at one point, he's just in the fucking suit.
Yeah.
I want to say this, the only note that I wrote to remember her was big anime titties, because that was literally her design. Was
Yeah, they had a very brazen titty flash. Not even
not
a
a
titty
flash, it was just
like she was squeezing them together,
and it was a very like there was animation to it. It's like, there it is. There's the money.
Yeah.
But like no, they're literally like eating dinner or something, and he's just in the suit, and it's just like
it feels like something out of a Power Rangers episode.
It's funny because it's like, I don't know if this is like trying to play it for laughs or something. It's like, this doesn't feel like like a comedic anime, but like there are moments like that where it's like, is this trying to be funny? Like, does he just wears this?
And
like,
I think the episode also, this is where we start with him explaining to the priestess that kind of what goblins are, what they actually are, versus what adventurers actually think they are. And this touches on my biggest gripe with this series, is he starts referring to levels. Like, goblins reach certain levels, and adventurers reach certain levels. And it's never like explicitly like, oh, they're level 10, or it's just like, oh, they get higher levels. And I'm like, okay, so wait a minute, is this a video game that they're in? Is this like Sword Art Online?
They do, and it reminded me of Sword Art Online.
I'm like, is this like a VR MMO or something? But they never address that. They dance all around it as if this is a video game of some sort, and then they just keep going on.
And then it's funny because in this episode and the next episode, we see and we hear dice rolling and stuff, and I was like, oh, like D&D. And then in like episode 3, they're like, oh, the stories are that the gods rolled dice to see where good and evil are. I was like, so is this fucking D&D? Like, what the fuck is happening? So if that's where the fucking show goes and we didn't reach it, just let us know in the comments, because like, if that's the ultimate twist, is that, oh, it's all a game of
but
some
you
sort.
know, the thing is though, that's world building, and you have to establish your world very early on. Sword Art Online establishes its world within the first episode.
Oh no, it's very clear. This is a video game world.
Yeah.
This is how this game is going to work.
There's a
the
tower
conflict.
that has several levels. The higher up it is, the harder it is. No one's ever seen the top. No one will likely ever see the top. And there are people who group up in parties because it's easier. But we've got our one lone warrior who's just the solo grinder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they even call him that a couple times, the solo grinder or something, or something like that. And you have a clear idea of what you're dealing with, what the parameters of the world are, whereas this one keeps tossing out hints but never actually following through with any of it or developing any of it.
It feels
they
like
just go, goblins are bad, I smash goblin.
It feels like when they try to build the world, it's more just like a side conversation happening. It's
like they're
never
spitballing ideas.
Exactly. It's just like little things. It's never like, oh yeah, like this is the sort of like everything, like, you know, how the world kind of is. It's like, no, it's just like, it's just kind of like in comments, and then like, it's enough to leave you on. I was like, okay, wait, so is this how it is? Like, it's just, it's weird, and it's just, it doesn't work for me with that either. It's just, it's a lot.
Yeah. And then you're introduced to the party.
Yeah, so episode 3, and actually, Chris, this is kind of why I wanted to see your opinion on the later episodes. So we get a full D&D party, essentially, that joins the Goblin Slayer. You get a elf ranger, she's like it's like a female elf ranger. You get a dwarven, what was he, like a barbarian, like a soldier,
Something like that, yeah. And then there's like a troll shaman or something.
No, he was like well, they called him like a lizard folk, but he was basically like a dragonborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get this whole like,
he looked like a troll.
Yeah, his design was a little weird, but it was very like, I could tell like this is basically dragonborn.
Yeah.
But it's basically this group that comes to try and find the Goblin Slayer so that he can help them on like missions or whatever. And he's just kind of like, no, only kill goblins. And they're kind of like, all right.
And the worst part is, they all were basically like dick measuring with each other the entire time. Like, they were all trying to make themselves out to be the bigger badass.
Yeah.
And constantly trying to one-up each other, with the exception of the priestess. She was the only, like, noob out of all of them.
She's just kind of sitting there watching.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, you can only have one monotone character, alright? You can't have them all be monotone characters.
Well, and it was funny just because it was like, again, like, I had to make sure, it's like, no one actually had a name, right? Because all I could hear was like them big and be like, oh, calm down, elf ranger or whatever, or oh, like, dwarf soldier, whatever. I was like, does anyone have a name? Am I just stupid? Did I miss a name? Like, who has the name here?
Yeah.
And they kind of do that. And what's funny is that they basically say they want to go, they want Goblin Slayer to come with them because there's like a demon war or something happening in the world. And I'm like, oh, what? There's demons in this? There's more?
Yeah. And the Goblin Slayer's like, well, they're not goblins, so I don't care.
Exactly. And it's just like, dude.
And they're like, oh, well, we have information that the demonic invasion is actually causing a stirring with the goblins.
And then he's like...
And then he suddenly cares. And it's just like, that is the most shoehorned in plot development I could possibly imagine. That literally sounds like people who are just trying to figure something up on the fly around a D&D table.
It honestly, and it's just like, that is what it sounds like, is like you're trying to get like the player's like character to be motivated to play. And it's just like, dude, like, oh my god. Like, and the worst part is that these are all side characters and our main character is the Goblin Slayer, and he's just, as a main character, like I'm trying to pull up what I wrote exactly, but he's just not interesting. Like, what did I write exactly? So
he's not interesting in personality. He's not even visually interesting.
he's not. He's just a dude in a night suit.
A very generic night suit.
It is.
Nothing about it stands out. There's no. I don't think there was even like any kind of markings on it.
The only thing, and I laugh because the only thing that really stood out was the fact that everyone else was very traditionally animated, and he was like 3D animated, so it was really jarring when they're all walking, and he's like a 3D model, kind of like what, like literally, he's like, oh my god, it wasn't even like. It wasn't like badly animated or badly looking. It was just like I couldn't tell that this is not the same animation style as every other fucking character.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Like, because like, they have him like walking and it's like his whole body and whatnot, but like it's just off enough that you can tell.
Like make all the characters CGI or none of them, and make other things CGI.
Exactly, and I saw it, and it's like, I don't understand why you did that. Like, it's just jarring. Like, and that's the only thing that stood out about, like, his appearance. Because everything else is, like, he's in a night suit and armor. Like, everyone else has normal clothing, normal fantasy clothing, and he's, like, a full, like, night suit.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of the Dragonlance animated movies. Did you ever see that?
I did not, actually.
It was... the Dragonlance movie, it's bad, but at least it's fun bad. Like, you can watch it and have fun.
Right.
But it was done in the early 2000s, I think, and it was right when a lot of studios were experimenting with mixing traditional animation with CGI animation, and that whole period where all that experimentation looked like ass, you know. And I'm like, this was done just a couple years ago, and it looks as bad as something as like old as 15 years ago. I mean, that's pretty rough. I'm not against mingling those styles.
No,
you
not at
can
all.
do it really well. I was trying to think. There was one I recently watched that did it, and it did it expertly. I'm drawing a blank now, but
Yeah.
like, if you want a good example of, I haven't even watched it. I've just seen the trailer, and it already looks amazing. But the new Transformers, War for Cybertron.
The one that was on Netflix.
Yeah, it kind of mixed that style a little bit.
Yeah.
More on the CGI style, but like that aesthetic, it looks great. This is just like, you're clearly CGI. CGI.
Yeah.
You're clearly using CGI for the Goblin Slayer to make him stand out over everybody else because he's your main guy. But it just, like you said, it's jarring.
It's jarring.
It looks so...
It's weird, and I don't understand, like, because the animation is nice. Like, it's not, like, cheap animation or anything. Everyone else looks good. Like, and then Goblin Slayer, it's, like... Again, it's not even like a bad CGI. It's off just enough that you can tell this is not the same animation style. Yeah. So when they're all walking and he's like walking like that, it's just like, why would you do this? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess it was like a style choice, but it's just like, I don't think it looks good. I think it just is like, I laughed at it because it's just like, it reminded me of the fucking, I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but it reminded me of the dumbass Kirby cartoon from the early 2000s, and they did that same shit.
Oh, God, I haven't even thought about that.
But, like, it was the same shit, where all the fucking little Dreamland characters, whatever, all normal, and then fucking Kirby's this little pink CGI blob walking around, and it was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen, and fucking Goblin Slayer reminded me of it.
Listen here, cowboy.
No, it was a dumbass cartoon. It was, and fucking his little 3D
Kirby
model.
Was a fine show.
He was a little 3D model running around, and it's just like, it wasn't that bad, but it was still that same level of jarring, where it's just like, why would you? Why? Like,
yeah, it was.
Why?
It was like watching 1970s Harrison Ford talking to CGI Jabba the Hutt in the remastered A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like, it was that level of just like, what the actual fuck are you guys doing? Like,
because like he's when he's like standing still, it's like, okay, it's animated, like, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's drawn on there, so it's like, why couldn't you just draw him like all the other characters? It's just I had to get that off my chest because I'm watching it and I feel like, am I insane? Like, what is happening?
yeah.
Oh my god.
To me, it would have been way more interesting if they didn't kill that first group. They barely survived by the skin of their teeth, and the Goblin Slayer is more like this legend. Maybe not even legend, but just like kind of like how we talk about SEAL Team 6. They're like this distant group that are most people view heroically, and they're just like, wow, yeah. And the Goblin Slayer is the one that bails them out of the really tight situations, but they keep going because they know they have to do it, and they're so traumatized by this first experience that they're motivated. This can't happen to any other group ever again. So we have to do this. We have to overcome our own fears to do this. And, you know, they keep getting themselves stuck in a tight spot, and the Goblin Slayer comes in and backs them up when they keep falling into these positions, and then eventually he joins up with them. That to me would have been way more interesting and way more
like natural, like character growth.
it would have been more compelling. More compelling.
I honest to God, I had that exact same idea. I think the only thing that was different was that I was thinking like if Goblin Slayer were a way better written character and was more maybe like a mentor of sorts, but either way, I was thinking like
a Yoda figure.
Yeah, but I was totally thinking the same thing with like if you kept that first group, they survived and then just were trying to evolve from that. I would have absolutely been compelled by that.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't have been fun to still sit through the first episode, but like the fact that it's like, okay, they're wanting to get better, get stronger, and they grow from there, I would have, I think that's a way better idea than what they went with. Because, you know, because we end up with Goblin Slayer as the main character, and then, like, the party comes in, and, like, that party of characters is neat, but it's, like, they're pre-established, you know, all together and everything.
And everybody's
like,
badasses.
Everyone's already, like, you know, good with stuff and everything, but obviously not as badass as Goblin Slayer, the ultimate badass.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's it just...
None of the rest of you got the CGI budget like I did.
Exactly. It really is. And then, like the last episode, like that it's really worth any mention was the 4th episode, and that was mainly just because this episode they basically go into like a dungeon. They finally did something. They basically the whole group goes into like a dungeon of sorts, to find something or another.
It was like a heavily evolved goblin, one that hadn't been killed, so it grew to such size and power that it was far more formidable than the average goblin.
So he fights like all these like goblins, and then you get like a really like the giant thing. And so you get these really neat sequences where they're like dungeon crawling essentially, and then like they're planning how they're gonna attack these certain goblins, and then you get this huge boss fight. And again, the animation's super good.
Yeah,
it was actually really cool because you get these really cool moments where there's like spell casting and whatnot, and it's super neat. And then Goblin Slayer actually uses this item that he's had, which is like a scroll of sorts, and he doesn't say what it is. It's actually kind of been hinted at. It's like, oh, this is like some weapon that he's needed, and he unleashes it at the last minute, and it was like something where it was like a scroll of like water from like the very deep depths of the ocean, so when it would come out, it was this pressurized fucking water cannon that came out and annihilated this thing. And I thought that was fucking neat. I thought that whole sequence was like, this is cool.
Which, for the record, fantastic idea for a homebrew item.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That actually, I was watching, I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Anyone who's listening to this that's into D&D and making homebrews, get on that. That is a fucking cool idea.
It was a really cool idea, and that's the thing, was like that whole sequence was great. I actually really liked that. The problem is that we still are stuck with Goblin Slayer as our main character. We still have all these other characters that are like fine, but you have the main character who has about as much personality as bread, and it's just like okay, yeah, this
Stale
is great.
bread.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, it's a stale bread from a village that's been burnt down and needs to fucking go avenge it. It's like this whole sequence
Would that make him toast then?
Exactly. This whole sequence was great and I really liked that. The problem is that I wasn't really rooting for like the main characters. I was more just kind of fascinated with how things were presented, and then I was like, this would have been a really cool like D&D anime or like something like that, or like Sword Art or something like that. If this was handled way better with the writing and everything, I would have been totally down for it. But instead, it tried so hard to be a fucking edgy ass fucking thing in the beginning, and then you're just kind of left with like what, I don't know what to do. And I don't know where the show goes after that, but I'm not driven to want to find out. Like, you know, usually it's like, oh man, like, gotta see what happens next, and it's just like,
yeah,
all right. And then for the record, I did watch the episode after that, and spoiler alert, nothing fucking happens. Like,
surprise, surprise.
No, did I even write anything for episode 5?
I have a general rule of thumb that regardless of the medium, whether it's anime or a live action TV series, I give you 3 to 5 episodes to hook me. If you can't pull that off in 3 to 5 episodes, I'm not watching you.
No, yeah.
And it's just like and I made this a hard rule after the farce that is Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Because so many times I'm like, oh, well, it gets really good after season 1. Oh, well, it gets really good after season 2. I'm like, if it takes 2 seasons for your show to get good, you're doing something wrong.
No, exactly.
And it's just like, after that, I was just like, no, I'm putting a hard limit. 5 episodes, absolute max. If you're not good in 5 episodes, I'm not watching you. And this anime did nothing to establish its characters. It did nothing to establish or even remain consistent with the parameters of its world. And after I watched it, I was like, yeah, it's a really cool fight. It looked gorgeous, but the rest of it is crap. Why am I going to keep watching this?
Exactly.
So after episode 4, I was just like, fuck it, I'm done.
And that's my thing is like, I'm the same way. Usually I'll do 7, but it's like 5 to 7, but with this show, it was like, I was very put off by the first episode, to the point where I'm like, no, I need to watch more if we're gonna do the podcast, but if it is still like this the entire fucking way through, I'm gonna be fucking like tired of it by the end. And sure enough, no, it's that for the first episode, and then like little to nothing for the other fucking 4 episodes that I watched, and it was just, I was blown away just by the fact that it's like, are you really, like, you started off on this note and it's like, this is it? Like, and it's funny because I remember when the show had debuted and everyone was fucking talking about, oh my god, the first episode is fucking, it's atrocious and like all this stuff, and then I never heard anything about it, and I've always wondered, why haven't I heard anything after the first episode? This is why, because it is so, like, nothing happens. And again, I don't know what happened if, like, oh man, episode 6 everything gets great, but it's just like, I don't have a reason to. If this is our main character, if this is like the real conflict that we get, it's like, why would I want to keep watching? Like, you know,
yeah, it's like the exact opposite with like Black Mirror or something, where like just skip the first episode. The first episode is horrific.
Black Mirror, absolutely. I always tell
they're like, but definitely start with number 2, episode 2, because it's really good, and it's true. It is good. It's really good. You have a reason to watch it, and you know this is the exact opposite. It's just like, the first episode is worth watching just for the shock value and just that the way it flips it on its head in a way that you wouldn't expect from something that starts out the way it does. But it then just tapers off after that. And I would say, like, in the 4th episode, while the fight looked cool and all that, it lacked the same visceral nature as the first episode.
No, and that's
Like-
the thing is like nothing.
And this is
reached
supposed to
that
be
level.
a really big, juiced up goblin, and his fighting wasn't anywhere near as savage as the little ones in the cave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shouldn't he be even more savage if he survived for so long? Like,
Exactly.
isn't that what you just implied? Like,
It's just really funny because it was like, I don't know, I just was expecting a lot worse. And yeah, no, the first episode, if the first episode is like the highlight of the season, that's not great. Like,
no, it's really not.
no, it's like if that's your one great episode, like that's not good. Like, it's just like, oh my god, it's just literally, I'm astounded at the fact that like just nothing happens after that, and it's like the first episode just put me off so hard, and then after that it's like, okay, why am I still watching this? What am I here for? Like, what happens? Like, nothing happens.
I'm gonna risk being a bitter fanboy here. Just be like, I am pissed that such a flimsy anime got such a big budget and got a movie, while there are far better animes that did not get that budget, only got one season, no movies, no follow-up. Nothing. It just stops. Like, one of my favorites, as you guys know, is Trinity Blood, and most people don't even know that anime. Even anime fans that I've met rarely ever know what I'm talking about when I
That's
mention
right.
Trinity.
Comment down below if you know Trinity Blood.
Yeah,
let
you
us
know. Shout out to you guys.
What you know?
But it's just lost time. I don't think they ever did more than one season.
Yeah.
I've never seen a movie that was made for it, and it's a vastly superior anime than Goblin Slayer by orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, shit, like, no, there are many animes that I know I only had like a season, and like that's it. This one got a lot, like, fucking, like, I don't know. I know like Cowboy Bebop lasted a lot more episodes, but like it was only really one season, right? Like it was only like,
I think they had a couple spin-off series, but none of them, so far as I know, I didn't follow Cowboy Bebop a whole lot. I'm more familiar with the movie than
Yeah.
the animated movie,
Yeah.
not the crap Netflix is developing.
yeah, but like I don't know. It's just like, how did this one end up how did it keep going? Like that's my thing, because it's like it has a movie. I'm sure it has a second season. We thought the movie was the second season, but we looked into it. It was like,
The movie is the start of second season,
so there's
That's basically
supposedly
the
a second
jumping
season.
allegedly.
But it's just like, why this one?
So
I mean, go on Netflix, watch Wakfu. It's a way better show.
all right. So first thing, there's a couple things I want to say now that we've gotten past all this.
Yeah, no, you've been quiet. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, because I'm gonna drop some fucking logic in here. So I did a lot of research after my first episode because I'm like, I knew in my heart, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna make it through more of this. Like, literally, I felt so like I felt like so off after the first episode. I'm like, I can't do another episode. Like, I just don't have the energy to like invest in it again, or even just like, I wasn't even like curious of where it's gonna go because I'm just like, ugh. So I was like, okay, they've already watched more, so that's fine. I'm gonna do a pro gamer move, and I'm gonna learn about what the fuck this is. So first off, for the record, the movie was produced by Square Enix for Goblin Slayer.
Wow.
Shame on you, Square.
Wow.
Shame on you.
I hope Square Enix is proud to have produced it.
And after the movie, or after this, they call it a cinematic episode. That's what they're calling.
They're calling the movie.
Yeah, it's a cinematic episode. So it's
That's
canonical.
It's a movie.
I don't care.
I think that's their way of being like, it's a canonical movie instead of it being episodes. It's like,
You guys made Advent Children, okay? Advent Children, one of the coolest video game movies ever fucking made, and you made Goblin Slayer the movie.
Jesus.
Wow.
Now, Square Enix said after that had released, they had quote unquote not given up, and they are going to kind of keep going forward. I don't know what the fuck that. I don't know what that means.
Keep going forward with what does that mean?
But okay. Secondly,
This literally sounds like the Markiplier meme. I'm going to milk you.
Yeah.
all right. So next, now stick with me. This is the idea, the kind of concept behind the show makes sense when I had learned that basically, and I'll get into it, that the entire show is based on a D&D campaign. Now, it's not
Okay.
a specific campaign. It is based on the concept of, theoretically, your first campaign. Why? Because all of the main characters have generic backstories, they have generic character development, everyone's fighting to be the best person in the party. The world is, like, iffy developed.
I'll
The
say.
fact that the main character is so bent on goblins in his backstory that the DM is trying to be like, hey, there's all this other shit going on too, and the main guy, the player, is like, my character doesn't care because it doesn't have goblins. And so the DM is then thinking, okay, well, because of the demons, the goblins are fucking shit up, so go take care of the demons. Because he's like trying to motivate his player that has this fucking backstory that fits into only this very specific niche. And so it's like doing that. And then the priestess's backstory is the idea that it's the new player being brought in that doesn't really know what D&D is, and then and the DM is basically putting in a really fucking crazy ass intro to basically make her backstory a thing.
Okay,
and bring her into the party.
Now, I have a problem with that because you have to establish that kind of a narrative. You can't just insinuate it.
Because without context, it's like, why the fuck would I watch this?
Yeah, because, like, there's a difference between establishing and developing. Like, you can establish characters, you can establish a world, but then you develop those things as it goes on. They didn't establish shit.
And that was the idea. Is that it is like this very
So is this like a
campaign.
confirmed, or is this like a theory or something?
It was a theory, but it's been more or less confirmed, because the idea is it's this kind of new. The DM is new, so he's trying to kind of establish a thing, but it's not very solid. The players aren't really helping because they're just as generic. The show has constant references, and the prequel manga has references to D&D, specifically like Gygax is used as kind of like a curse word. And they actually make references in the manga to like saving throws, and then like you guys notice the gods are
The
rolling
level
dice
and the
on everything.
dice.
That is, it's not, the show isn't them literally playing a D&D game. It's as if you took kind of
The concept of a first D&D
and
campaign.
just took like the idea of it and trying to build a story around it. With like nodding to the idea of D&D, but it's not actually happening as D&D. There's like notes and references, and it's like it's setting this very new story idea, and that is why a lot of people do like it. I found out people love it because it does give off, when you're aware of it, when you're aware that it is kind of trying to do that, that's why people like the show. People like it because they're like, oh, I get it. That makes sense. You know, that probably would happen. This is kind of how that would actually be, yeah. But without knowing that, it just seems like it does fall flat because it's like, what the fuck is going on? Because it seems like nothing is happening. But it's
to me, that's a much more clever concept than the writers clearly have the skill set for. Because it relies on you learning this outside of the series. If you don't, the series does nothing to really establish this other than hint at it.
Yeah.
And if you don't establish that, then you're basically, grabbing at the dark.
Right.
Eh,
Like how
that's terrible writing.
like that's
that
like
is
I
awful writing.
I understand the concept, but it's like how is that portrayed? I get like a little reference like the dice and everything, but it's like
And that's the thing. I find the concept fascinating as like
it's a
Oh
neat
yeah,
idea.
it's a great idea,
and it's like
fantastic.
I really wish that vibe came off more.
Yeah,
Because I feel like I'd be way more invested in the idea
like
of it.
even just have some narration in between the episodes that kind of build on that concept. Like just have a narrator. Like
It's just honestly, it gives me no vibe of that. It just feels like a really shit story with shit characters. Like even knowing that, it's like, okay, I'm not motivated to go back. Like,
Well, no, and that's the thing. It's like these are shitty characters because they're kind of intentionally written to be so boring and generic because an inexperienced player would write the very my character hates goblins because his family was killed and his village was burned down, so now my character lives his life constantly trying to kill goblins. There's my story. Let's go.
sounds like a cop out to like excuse bad writing.
like just someone's like, okay, wait, listen, here's what it was actually based off. It doesn't make me like the show anymore.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying like what it was trying to be. Like,
Right.
The idea of it was like
It's a good
it
idea.
was solid, but the execution did not come off the way that it is kind of made to be.
Right.
The way what they were going for and what they were writing it to be didn't come off in the show to be like that at all. And it's like, yeah, probably the subtle references to like levels and the dice and things were supposed to be like little throws to the
It's-
audience that were like,
It's a little
Oh.
too subtle though.
it's subtle to the
It's
point
a
where it
little
makes you
too-
question it. And you're
It's
like,
a little
Yeah.
too subtle, but then it comes out and it's just like, okay.
And that's exactly what happened. Like I said earlier, like I was wondering, is this like, are they in an MMO like Sword Art Online? Because you're hinting at something bigger outside of the characters, but you're not giving me any clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different than just oh well, here's the grand reveal. It's like, no, I need to understand the setting. If you don't explain that, or if you don't hint at it, references or not, that's no way to establish your world.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
the gods rolled dice, and like, okay, that could just be
Anything.
fun little flavored wording.
Yeah.
That they're like, yeah, we realize this is
That's exactly what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I just was like, okay, that's cool. It's dice. It makes me think of D&D, but okay.
yeah, like,
But-
yeah, I don't think it would have made the show as it is. The show, I don't think would have been more interesting if, like, prior to the beginning of episode 1, they kind of give that disclosure or something, just in like some artful
To
way
disclose,
of like we're
two disclosures. One, there's some real fucked up mature content in this episode. Second disclosure, this is all based off a really shitty D&D campaign.
yeah. Let's make an entire series focused on a crappy D&D group rather
A
than
crappy
a
D&D
good one.
character.
Yeah.
No, because that's the thing is, like, knowing that, it's like, okay, so we're still stuck with a really shitty, like, baby's first edgy D&D character.
Yeah.
I want to fucking rewrite the fucking character. I want to see the sheet. I want to work with a person who wrote this shitty fucking character then.
and that's what I mean. Like, even if we know it going in, like some parts it'll be like, oh yeah, I get it, but like it doesn't mean it's gonna be. Those fucking episodes 3 through 5 are gonna be interesting.
No.
Like, it's more just gonna be like.
It's like, okay, now I can understand why, but it doesn't excuse it.
That to me sounds as flimsy as The Walking Dead. Like, oh, The Walking Dead, it's not about the zombies, it's about the survivors.
Okay, so
The
it's a
Walking
soap
Dead
opera.
The Walking Dead references that they're just dead already and don't know it. And I'm like, that's literally every zombie flick. Every zombie flick is about the survivors, you dumbass. But the zombies are the threat. You're just making a soap opera with
is.
zombies in the
It's such a
background as white noise.
It's such a soap opera.
It's just
oh,
like,
God.
and that doesn't make your characters any more appealing. Your characters are still badly written everybody's a friggin' asshole, so why should I care about what happens to any of them?
Exactly. No, I feel the same way. I don't like Walking Dead either. Like, I feel the same way.
And that's exactly what this is. Just like all your characters are assholes, and the one character who isn't an asshole is an idiot. It's just like, why is she even doing any of this?
Like, seriously.
Why?
Because they have to go on with the story.
Yeah, the plot needs it.
Because she sat at the
You
table.
know, you know what they call that? They call that a death march.
Yeah.
Dead man walking.
Exactly. All right, so final verdict.
Boy.
If you haven't seen it, and our opinion matters for whatever reason to you, hard pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
I'd say that out of a lot, I've seen a lot of anime, and this is one of those few that I can't recommend unless you are genuinely curious. But it's even then, it's like, all right, you're probably curious about the first episode. Don't expect it after that. So that's 0 out of 5 for me.
Yeah.
0 out of 5.
I fucking like. What do you like?
Yeah.
Like on like if I'm not actually rating it, I'm more saying it as a meme. But it's also just like, fucking like I can't recommend it. It's just like it's a waste of a good idea and waste of good animation.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree.
Chris.
So, oof. Gotta say, so, going into it, it set up hope, and it set up an expectation. It then twisted that expectation, and so the first episode, I was kind of at 0, and after I watched the first episode, I was like 10 steps back.
-10.
So then, literally, I had known episode 2 and on are gonna have to bring me back to 0. Like, theoretically, like, I'm so put off by the way the show's going that it's like, now the show's gonna have... I'm kind of have this expectation, like, the show's gonna really have to pull me back in really hard. And then, knowing that it doesn't do that...
It doesn't.
disappointing. And yeah, there's probably a lot of people out there that are really curious, like, oh, what is it like? And I'm gonna be honest. Check yourself first. like know when you're curious, know why you're curious, and understand what you'd be getting into.
Well, I mean,
Like,
that's the thing
like,
is like
don't go into it be like, oh, is it really that bad? And then you like fucking, I don't know, like
you're traumatized.
you were like more sensitive than you thought you were, and now you're fucking scarred for the next 6 years.
Because the thing is like if you can stomach what happens the first episode, then yeah, go ahead and go take a look. But my thing is like, it's just such a like, it throws everything at you in the first episode, and then there's nothing after that, and it's just like, yeah, you're probably curious about the first episode, but once you finish the first 15 minutes of the first episode, that's it. That's what you were curious about.
Yeah, so it's like, go in, if you really want to see that episode 1 that fucking bad, you know, realize what you're getting into, but then after that, kind of check your expectations. Like, I'm not saying have them, like, super low, but, like, don't expect episode 1's fucking energy to keep flowing.
Hey, Chris, your opinion reminds me of the Malcolm in the Middle, where it's like, I expected nothing and I'm still disappointed.
I mean, and if you like it, then
That's
great.
cool.
You know,
No,
more
yeah.
power to you. And you got
Watch it all.
you got a second season to look forward to.
You got like 13 episodes of a first season. You got all the more to look forward to. Like, good for you.
Yeah, and in advance, I and we appreciate you guys being so calm and cool in the comments and appreciating our opinion being different than yours.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Like, I'm so proud of this community yeah, let us know in the comments if you're upset or if you are happy or if our opinions align with yours or you have something different. Let us know what you think of Goblin Slayer.
Exactly.
Like, because we only have our opinions, so I want to know out there who else likes this show or doesn't and why.
Yeah, I am
I
curious.
want the juice.
The juice.
I would like to put in a disclaimer here
Yeah.
to our listeners. We aren't an echo chamber. We all three of us rarely align in opinion this much.
No, I was gonna say, like, I'm genuinely surprised we are all on the same basis.
Yeah.
Like,
Chris
wow.
and I disagree on a lot, but it's rare for us to be like 100% on the same page
Exactly.
on something. So this should, if you believe me in saying that, then that should be a bit of a indicator as to how we feel about this.
Exactly.
And that it's not just we're agreeing with our own opinions.
Literally. And I mean, like, I don't always agree with you, Eric, but I am amazed. Like, it's like 99% of what you said I can agree with, like, genuinely. So I think that's funny.
And I want to do a quick footnote here at the end.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of people that compare, and there are some parts of it that I can see, is that the Goblin Slayer is literally this version of the fucking, like, a really shitty version of the Doom Slayer.
Okay,
the fact that he is that like silent type that hunts a very specific thing, and he's brutal about it, but he's smart about it, and he's not really fucking worried about anything else. That's the comparisons I've seen.
So I have a rebuttal that I have been sitting on since I've watched the show.
Yes, this is the bonus part of the episode.
I want to, because this has literally been on my chest since I've watched it, because I have heard this comparison. And here's why I have a fucking problem with that, right? So here's the thing.
We're gonna go one by one. Both of you, I want your opinions.
Yeah, do you mind if I say it first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, no, so here's my issue, right? So you can say that, but here's the thing. Doom...
But here's the thing.
Here's why you're wrong. Doom's focus is not on the story. Doom's focus is as a video game. You play as the Doom Slayer. The focus is on the brutal action of killing all the demons and the shit and going through all of that. You play as the Doom Slayer, so the lack of a character with Doom Slayer is fine because you're the one playing it. You're the one experiencing all that. The story isn't the focus. It's in that case, it's the action. What you're kind of enduring is the focus in Doom. With Goblin Slayer, the focus is on the story. The focus is the character. So when you have a shitty character like Goblin Slayer, there's nothing there. And there's hardly any action anyway, so it's like, yeah, no, the story is supposed to be the focus here, and it's not an interesting story. So... yes, like, I see the comparison, but no.
I can feel the shaking coming off of you. And
it's like, because literally I've been sitting on it, because I saw comments are like, oh, it's like Doom, and I thought about it, like, no. Let me tell you why it's not, though. I mean, I can see why, but it's like, no. Doom works because it's a video game where you play as the guy doing this and you experience all the action and everything. Goblin Slayer is a shitty fucking story where none of this happens, and the focus is the story. So anyways, that's my TED Talk.
All right.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you. I agree in the sense that Doom's strength is it's so video gamey. It's arguably, at least in this current day and age, it is the most video game out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it glorious. I will disagree, however, in saying that the Doom Slayer is not a real character. I think, actually, Doom Slayer is a perfect example, an even better example than the Punisher when I was talking about a good one-note character.
Right.
Why is everybody so excited to play the Doom Slayer? Why are there so many memes that hype up how badass the Doom Slayer is? It's because the attitude that is conveyed by him without even saying a fucking word. You play the two most recent Doom games, Doom and Doom Eternal. Not even like playing the older ones that, I mean, they were video games.
Yeah.
There wasn't really the notion of a narrative for a lot of first-person shooters back then. Certainly not for Doom. But these two newest ones with the strongest narrative, Doom guy can cock a shotgun and you know exactly what he's thinking and what he's planning to do.
Right.
You can have other people talk to him, and just by his posture, you know exactly what he has to say about what they're saying to him. You get none of that with Goblin Slayer.
Right. And
You can do that, and you can convey that without uttering a word, and still have a compelling, interesting character. Albeit one note, very simple, but very compelling.
No, and I agree, and I absolutely agree with you. And I think when I say that, like, he doesn't have a lot of character, I think that's more what I mean is that it's not, like, vocal character, but you are right. He has a lot of, like, personality, and, like, and I agree with that. And again, it's, like, the focus is on that, like, video game action and, like, you playing as it and going through. But when Goblin Slayer is an anime that it like, doesn't have all this, the focus is the story, and the story is shit. So it's just, like, when I hear the comparisons, it's like, this doesn't work, though.
And I would even forgive a shitty story if it had just fun, enjoyable to watch
if it was
characters.
fun, yeah.
Like, if it was just fun to watch, or just to watch the characters be fun, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. It's entertaining at least.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, people watch Dragon Ball, like, Z and everything, and no one's saying it's, like, Shakespearean writing, but we love the characters, we love the action and everything. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's literally, like, giantly steroided guys throwing balls of light at each other, but they're cool characters. You grow to like them. And that's why you accept
they have such personality.
That's why you accept the ridiculous nature of the world and the storyline.
Exactly.
Like, Doom is literally a quarterback in armor with a gun just blowing shit up.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fucking straightforward. But the reason why it's so popular is because it's so fun, and the character of the Doomslayer is just so fun to play out and watch.
Exactly. No, and I get that.
So,
Chris, did you have any other footnote that you wanted to add?
No, that was the big one, because I was like, well, we're going to cover it eventually.
I know. Well, you know what? It is funny, because I was thinking, I was like, man, I'm just going to have to tell you guys, like, this afterwards. If it's fine, it won't be in the video, because it was my thing. I was like, ah!
Well, now everybody's heard it.
Yes.
And you can let your comments down below if you think the Goblin Slayer is Doom Slayer, or vice versa, or your thoughts on that.
Exactly. So,
yeah, there
it is. So I think this calls it, right? I think this is good.
This has been an ordeal. Goblin Slayer, it happened, and we've all experienced it, and we're all happily moving forward.
We all take one happy step forward. It's like Wizard of Oz. We're all going down the yellow brick road away from fucking Goblin Slayer.
I wish I could say it at least made, I don't know, it improved my life. It didn't make it worse. Didn't make it better. Nothing really changed.
It just kind of existed.
It kind of just happened, and I'm like, all right. Like, I can't even look back at it and be like, damn, man, if they just changed, like, these things, this show would have been amazing to me, or anything. It's just like,
yeah. In a way, I'm kind of relieved, because out of the mountain of shit I still need to watch, it's one less thing.
One less thing now. Exactly.
And it's like, now we all understand when people are like, yo, Goblin Slayer. We're like, fuck you.
If I ever hear someone be like, yo, check out Goblin Slayer, I'm like, fuck you.
Let us know in the comments if you're one of those people.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
All right. And on that note, I think we're going to call it.
That's right. Stick around for the fate.
Yes, we'll spin the wheel one more. We'll spin the wheel for the next one, but...
Until then,
hit the like, hit the subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Eric, for being on today's episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for letting me participate.
Yes. Thank you for indulging in the pain with us.
Nobody should go through Goblin Slayer alone.
Yes, and
yeah, check out the other podcasts. We got Ghost of Tsushima.
We got Macaroni Academia. My Hero Academia. Check out Core 4 gaming videos. We got a bunch coming out, and
yeah, got some pretty exciting. Go check out fucking Spider-Man. That's happening.
Spider-Man,
Zelda. We got some fucking got some spooky games with Jackie. That's exciting.
Have you watched Shadow of the Colossus yet? No? Go check it out. All three of us fucking kick ass in that game, so go check it out.
That's right.
All right.
And subscribe. Do that.
Yeah.
Do that too. And there's a little bell down there you can hit.
It's the dinner bell. Ding, ding, ding. All right. Until next time, we'll see you later. And yeah, stick around for the wheel. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Fuck Goblin Slayer.
Fuck you.
Hey guys, welcome back to the spicy end of the podcast. We've just finished Goblin Slayer.
And now we are about to spin the Wheel of Fate.
You know what that means.
It's time to decide which anime we're going to watch next time.
And this one will be left up to the gods of the universe.
Yep.
You see the list, you see what we have. What will fate decide for us on this day?
Let's find out. Do you want me to do the honors?
Please,
All right.
spin us
Here
into
we
the
go.
future.
Here we go. Oh, shit.
Here
we go.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
What is it gonna fucking be, dude?
Oh, my God.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Is it? Oh.
Oh,
Hey!
shit.
Dude,
Damn.
Oh, yes.
Nice. Do you see how close it got to GT?
My heart dropped. I was like, no way.
Oh my god.
Oh, nice. Actually, I'm fine with this.
Seriously, legit. I keep seeing
we-
that this exists, and I keep seeing the hype for it, but I've never watched it.
I've had several people recommend it to me. I think I attempted to watch the first episode, but I didn't have any time to fully commit to it, so
Something about this wheel just likes the word Slayer.
this is true.
So-
It's funny too because we just were telling Eric that there's a difference between Demon Slayer and Goblin Slayer, so
Oh my god,
it's almost like it hears us every time.
it does. We talk.
But we've talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! For like 5 days straight.
We're Yu-Gi-Oh for fucking 5 years.
Hopefully next time.
That's okay, because any of these choices were gonna be a great choice. Like,
Yes.
we're excited about most of it, except for One Piece 4 Kids. That can go fuck itself.
It's on the wheel. It's on the wheel.
I hate it.
Okay, so here we go. Demon Slayer will be our next big anime episode. So
That's right. So stick around for that. That's gonna be a thing. I'm interested because I know nothing.
yeah, I don't really know much either, really. So sweet.
Yeah.
We'll see you then. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and
Yeah, go watch our other podcast too.
yeah.
Jesus.
You know what? I'm happy. I'm fine with
I
this.
am honestly literally after Goblin Slayer. I mean, I don't. Anything's really on the table.
It almost was on GT. I would have even been fine with that.
I know, right? Shout out to you GT fans. What's up? Put a like on the
yeah,
video.
almost had him this time. Almost.
Demon Slayer fans, what's up?
We'll see you in the next vid, guys.
That's right.
Hit the like, hit the subscribe. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Demon Slayer.
All right, guys. So we have a little bit of a plot twist here for a second. So we noticed how the needle was very close in between Demon Slayer and Dragon Ball GT, and we just wanted to see how close it was to land on GT.
Because from what you can see, it is like on the line, like jokingly close. Like holy shit.
Right? You would think so, right? Chris, zoom that in for me. Because we have come across a revelation, one of the ages. Almost. And there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the needle is on Dragon Ball GT. I don't know how this happened. We have a glitch in the Matrix, but it would appear that the wheel has technically landed on Dragon Ball GT. So,
Yes, it did pop up with Demon Slayer.
So
But-
as the judges of the Spiral Offcast, we have come to the conclusion that although it did pop up with Demon Slayer, we are going to go ahead and override it because technically the wheel's needle has landed on GT, as you can see.
And the wheel decides what we watch.
The computer doesn't decide. The wheel decides.
It did pop up, and I know some of you guys are like, shit, you guys were going to watch Demon Slayer? That would have been awesome.
But here's the thing, Demon Slayer will remain on the wheel. We will
Yes.
keep Demon Slayer for another time. But
I'm sorry for those of you that were disappointed, but at the same time,
GT is something that we have also wanted to talk about for a long time. So, it is only natural that we follow the wheel. And so our next episode, our next anime-eccentric episode,
that's right.
shall be Dragon Ball GT.
Damn right.
So, congratulations, GT fans. Your day has come overall.
That's right, all 6 of you guys out there.
Yep.
Dragon Ball
And
GT is coming in hot.
on that note, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and we will see you next time.
I know. By this point, we've told you so many times to hit the like. So if you don't hit the like, we're gonna be sad.
Yeah, we'll be really sad.
Hit the like if you want to see us sad.
Exactly.
Drop a comment down below. I know this has been jarring. We've had so many attachments at the end of this.
This is like fucking Lord of the Rings, like all these different little things. It's like just end it. All right, we're calling it.
Yeah, there it is. GT. fucking watch out for it.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Yo.
We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye for real this time.
Bye bye.